Welcome to Advancing Healthcare Through Simulation. I'm your host, Lisa George, and today I'm very excited to welcome Robert Sikora from Edmonton Global. He is the Senior Manager of Business Development for Health and Life Sciences at Edmonton Global. An Edmonton native, Robert has a background in biochemistry, an extensive international experience in biotechnology, petrochemicals, and nutraceutical industries. He is a bilingual in English and French and has been instrumental in fostering international partnerships and business growth for Canadian companies. Welcome, Robert.
Lisa, pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Great. Well, we have lots of wonderful topics to get us going for today's podcast. So we'll start off with our first question. From your perspective, what makes the Edmonton region and Alberta attractive destinations for investment in health and life sciences specifically?
Well, great question. And first off, we're very fortunate to be located where we are. And it's just not just something that's developed overnight. It's been decades of continuous growth in the sector. So when we're talking about health and life sciences, that's inclusive of pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. That's part of my background. But at the end of the day, all of this comes as a foundation on the post-secondary institute. So if we look at the key hubs within North America that are very strong in biotech and life sciences, Boston, the Bay Area, San Diego, what do they all have in common? Cambridge, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Ivy League schools. We have here in the Edmonton region the continuous growth of Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, University of Alberta, MacEwan University. And so all of these, whether it's in the life sciences or the business management, give the growth within the ecosystem. And then all of these other spheres within it originate from those foundations. So you get spin-off companies, you get world-class researchers coming here, you get advocates within the ecosystem who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. And so with all those assets, we've got a very strong foundation within the Edmonton region and the ecosystem that makes that attractive to the world stage. The unfortunate part in all of this, though, is when we go into international markets, 99% of the world's never heard of Edmonton, let alone Alberta. But then that's the fun part, is we get to showcase to them what we truly do have here. And when you tell them, we're top 3 to top 5 globally when it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning, everyone's blown away because they're like, well, why is that not the Bay Area? Well, it's not. And so being able to relay these messages to the broader audience and use that to attract not just attention, but the end goal is to bring investment here. It's a very uplifting and rewarding part of our job to show to the world that there's a lot more out there than just the Bostons and the San Diegos.
I bet it would be very exciting to be able to tell that story and showcase us.
It is, yes.
Yeah. How do you feel simulation-based healthcare innovation contributes to investment attraction in this sector?
So when we are trying to showcase and elaborate to potential clients and prospects or even industry partners about what are the assets that we have here in the Edmonton region, from our team, we need to go out and continuously be in dialogue with our ecosystem partners such as NAIT to understand what is the value proposition, because we are an extension of yourselves when we go into the market. So we need to make sure that we really understand what we're talking about. And so being able to have these collaborations is critical. And so over the last couple of years, we've actually had the opportunity to do some outbound missions with NAIT and the CAMS Center, going into one of the largest healthcare industry shows in the world, Arab Health in Dubai. We went there with some of your colleagues in the past, 110,000 attendees over several days. So you get to put yourselves out front. And so being able to understand how CAMS operates is critical for us to relay that message. And so when we're going through and doing the actual tour of CAMS, even bringing some clients through, it's absolutely fascinating. You're always learning something new. But the key thing to all of this is it's a very unique asset. And so we get excited to talk about this to clients and be like, if you're looking to do a medical device, or you're looking to have a new diagnostic tool, well, let's make sure that you get that proof of concept and that validation first before you spend the millions of dollars. You've raised capital, you've got investors who are going to be hounding you, and then you end up with a product that just does not meet real world evidence standards. And so understanding simulation is absolutely critical, but also from NAIT's perspective is to train the next generation of lab techs or paramedics or frontline healthcare staff to properly use these techniques in the most realistic settings. And so that's absolutely fascinating. And so it's very imperative that we're able to share this message and broadcast this message, because what I also love is that even though we have 8 post-secondaries here in the Edmonton region, everybody knows their areas of strength and expertise. And so there's not this, at least from my perspective, I don't see, maybe there's some things going behind the scenes, but there's no battling each other. It's like we're really good at this, we're really good at this. And I see it where there's actually collaboration, or there's these conduits between the post-secondaries which want to strengthen each other's capabilities. And when we bring clients from the outside world, I know there's some people who, like, internally within the Edmonton ecosystem, it's just, we feel like sometimes we operate in silos. The world doesn't see that. When we bring clients and prospective investors here and we take them on a tour of the ecosystem, they're meeting with post-secondaries, they're meeting with private industry, they're meeting with government. And by the time they're done, they're like, you guys are all singing the same song. You're telling the same message. It's absolutely fascinating how cohesive this ecosystem is, and they're blown away. And so that is a true valuable asset that we have here. When people come here, they feel welcomed, they feel encouraged, they see the entrepreneurial spirit, and they see the capabilities of being able to utilize all these assets that are here. So having the foundation of the simulation-based is a huge advantage to being able to show to the world what we have here.
That's fantastic to hear. I think that would be very valuable to those partners, being able to connect with all of those partners. What key factors do investors, startups, and global health innovators look for when choosing a location to develop and scale their medical technologies?
Well, I just elaborated a little bit on that with the cohesiveness of the ecosystem. So that is absolutely a true advantage and asset that we do have here. So if a client comes through and they're looking for, we have what we think is going to be a groundbreaking technology. We're located in country X, but through discussions with yourselves and maybe through some of your other partners, we see that we can get a lot of advantage of being able to set up an R&D lab facility here and to be able to further advance that diagnostics, whether it's going to be for the cost advantage or the access to resources. But we want to make sure that they're able to prove the concept while they're here. And so again, having the whole value chain from, support from the federal government with their SR&ED tax credits, getting up to 35%, tax from, you spend $1 million on your R&D, you could get upwards of $350,000 in tax credits. And then down the value chain of being able to show that proof of concept. So you bring all these pieces in alignment and it puts a puzzle together. And so to have a hub that offers everything that you need, as I referred to, is a huge bonus. But we're in a world that's changing clearly by the minute. So we don't know what's going to be happening once this podcast is done. Yeah. So when it comes to businesses, what they really want is stability. They want to know continuity. The Alberta environment, I feel, and so I've been in several businesses here that have exported products internationally. We've always had the ability to understand what's the next 6 months, 12 months going to look like. And so, it may be a little bit boring, but boring is good when it comes to business dynamics. And, if you're not able to understand what's going to happen tomorrow, it's hard to plan for even 5 years from now. And so having the business continuity and the ability to plan ahead for your growth of your company. But really, now we've experienced some of the highest inflation rates in the last 40 years. Companies are really focusing on cost controls, operational expenditures. Well, if we're looking to expand our company and we're looking to have market access, where can we do that in a very cost-basis jurisdiction? That's Alberta, and specifically Edmonton. And so being able to understand, let's keep company X is looking to set up a new manufacturing facility. They're looking to set up an R&D lab. They're thinking, well, what about Montreal? Okay, Montreal's great. They got a really strong basis in life science in the ecosystem. But then we just found out about this place called the Edmonton region. Well, we like what they have to offer. Well, we like to do cost comparison analysis for these companies. So if they agree to it, they can provide us all the inputs, the staff there that they're going to have, the cost involved with the production of their products. we're able to actually, I had this one client where they were looking at setting up a pharmaceutical facility between Montreal and Edmonton. And we were able to run the numbers based on, they're looking at projections of maybe by opening of the doors, $1 billion a year in revenue. Fantastic. Give us all your inputs. And we're able to showcase that in year one, just by being in Edmonton, they would have 10 million net earnings savings compared to being in Montreal for many different reasons. And we're even starting to see, thank goodness that, with the proper development within our Edmonton metropolitan region and the municipalities and their planning have kept the prices of real estate relatively affordable compared to everywhere else. That is a huge advantage.
A significant amount. And that's fantastic that you're able to provide that comparison. Can you share examples of how simulation-based training or research has played a key role in accelerating the commercialization of new medical devices for healthcare technologies?
Absolutely. Well, I come from the industry, so I can speak specifically to some of my prior companies. And so being able to have access to advanced laboratories where you can trial run your products before you even think about going to clinical trials where you're going to be pumping in millions of dollars, it's imperative because you can refine some of the issues that you're encountering before you actually put in more money to commercialize. And so examples are, from my prior past, but I had the pleasure of meeting John Sutherland from NAIT a few months ago, and this is one of those individuals and people that I wish I would have met you a long time ago, because the programming that you're offering to clients would have been very valuable to some of my prior clients who, again, as I mentioned, are maybe they already have products in the market and they like what they have here. They got a new product that they're working on. And to have that additional value add of utilizing NAIT and your simulation center on how's this going to work out. And so just over the last, I'd say, 5 months since I've been talking to John and some of your colleagues at NAIT, we've identified a few foreign companies who could fit the model of being able to utilize this validation program. And so I'm excited to see if we get them in there. What are the results going to be? But even the discussions we're having with the simulation center at NAIT and these companies just feel like they're being taken care of. They're like, you actually have our best interest in mind. You want to make sure that this is successful. And it's all these little pieces at the very end that give the, not the reassurance, but the influencing of these companies. Like, well, if we're going to set up somewhere in North America, maybe they're coming from Japan or maybe they're coming from Europe. We want to be here because we're not just going to be, once we're here, we're not going to be forgotten. There's always going to be those people that we can fall back on and rely on and getting those introductions. So a lot of what Edmonton Global does is we can convene those introductions into maybe end users or customers, or even to identify strategic partnerships that could, again, help them to have that market access and to not just walk, but run into, being a successful company in North America.
Really save a lot of time as well, I'm sure, and hopefully some setbacks along the way, making sure that they have that support. So I can see the real value there. How do you see simulation playing a larger role in regulatory approval processes, clinical trials, as well as risk mitigation for new medical innovations?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with risk mitigation. And so, again, when it comes to whether it's a small, 10-person company or a 500-person company or larger, costs are becoming a huge issue. How do we control our costs? And so going back to what I was referring to earlier is we want to make sure that we know that this product is going to work before we dump $1 million, $10 million into further R&D to commercialize, and then it gets out into the market. Real world evidence shows it doesn't work. So how can we mitigate those? So having the utilization of this validation program, you can catch it earlier on in the technology readiness level, say at 2 or 3 or 4. Make sure you catch it before you're at 7, 8, or 9, and you've already put all that money in. You've wasted resources just to see something fail. And so it's actually fantastic because you can get this real world evidence so that you, as I mentioned, you can kind of tailor make those adjustments to make sure that you refine that product, and then now you're confident after, say, a 12-month validation program period. You have your results. You've had whether it's professionals in the industry or the students who are practicing it, they get to have the hands-on. So you get almost like the those who are just learning a technology and those who have been in it for decades. You get all spectrums to be able to test this product. And so once you're confident about that, that's when you can start the process of going through clinical trials, whether it's phase 1, 2, 3 for a medical device, class 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It can get very expensive, very fast. And you don't want to be in phase 3 and all of a sudden realize, yeah, you know what? We didn't even think about this. And so I think that's a huge bonus to what this validation program can offer to the clients.
Okay. Fantastic comments. Thank you for that. How do simulation facilities and programs such as NAIT Center for Advanced Medical Simulation contribute to making the region a leader in health innovation and workforce training?
Great question. And it's all about, it takes a village, I feel. And so what we really like to do when we go into markets, we're talking with clients is, we have 8 post-secondary institutes here, and they all play a significant role in not just education, preparing the next generation of workforce, but by having innovation. And so when you look at, say, the University of Alberta, it's, a very well-renowned academic institution. So some of the spin-off companies that have come from there, some of the innovation, those are huge highlights. But then you need to have that technical basis. And so I think we can maybe talk about it later on, but one of the projects I'm working on, it's going to rely on having inputs from the University of Alberta, MacEwan, NAIT, and all of these things. So we're very well recognized globally for our academic footprint. There's a desire for a lot of these students, I've got my bachelor, or I've got my master's, or I've got my certificate. I'm going to go out into the real world. And, sometimes they come back, but now we're seeing a lot of the retention. Why? Well, there's a few underlying factors for that. Is a big one is quality of life. And so a lot of people are realizing, there's the dream of going to the West Coast. Well, they all come crawling back because you can't afford to live there. Even doctors, lawyers have a hard time affording a lifestyle there. And so lifestyle is big, especially for those who are looking to have a family. There's that aspect. Home affordability is just, you can't find much better than here in the Edmonton region when you can actually afford a household. But that's also driving good companies. There's a lot of good companies who are founded here, who are growing here. And so that's giving these people who are looking for that quality of good companies to work for. And so you put all these pieces together, and it just allows for NAIT to continuously reinvest, to expand their programs, to expand their footprint. I mean, just seeing what the CAMS Center is. And, I remember when I was a little kid, I'd go to NAIT in the summer for NAIT Ooks hockey camp.
Yeah.
And, just there was nothing there. And just to see what it is today, that's just proof of concept that, what is happening here, it's working, and it's working very well.
Yeah, it used to be a parking lot, and I think there's a lot more going on now.
It is.
How important is collaboration between industry, government, and post-secondary institutions, as well as healthcare organizations in advancing health innovation?
100% important. You cannot do it without collaboration. And so if, like for instance, I know COVID really was what put the healthcare systems over the edge globally. I mean, every healthcare system was affected, but they're all on the edge going into it. So COVID just gave them that final push. And so there's a frantic panic about how do we fix this? And so you fix it by finding solutions. Those solutions are, and if you talk to people from Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services, if you can find us solutions, whether it's digital or it's practical or it's maybe a mixture of the two, is it going to save us money? That's number one. Is it going to provide better care for our patients? That's number two. Number three is staff burnout. Can we reduce staff burnout? Because our frontline workers and the doctors, physicians have done an amazing job. How can we make their jobs easier? And so what I love about my job is, going across the world, I'm finding these technologies and they are out there. And so when I bring them back, again, my end goal is to have those companies set up a presence, invest in the region here, and then, market access and help them grow their companies. Well, how do we do that is, you need to have that dangling of carrot. Like, we can help you. Let me help you. And so we need the support from the government. We need support from the post-secondaries, maybe even from private industry partners here that could, collaborate with them. And so again, going back to what I was referring to is you envelope them with this sense of we care about you. And so I've seen it on several instances where bringing these companies abroad, they have these solutions. They're revenue generating. They have proof of concept in foreign countries, demonstrable success. And so we bring them here and we introduce them to some of these key stakeholders, key opinion leaders within the region. And when the say within the Alberta, within the health system, they identify it's like, actually, yes, this is something that will make a difference. And if you're hitting 1, 2, or even all 3 of those check marks, it's a huge bonus. And there's another company that I'm working with right now. Even it can go on both the private health side and on the public health side. But on the public health side, on the private side, it's going to cost a little bit of money. But what we're doing is with this technology, you're showing that you can actually take care of your patients in a better way. You're empowering your nursing staff that they have the confidence in making the right decision on what they deem to be affecting their patients. And so if we didn't have that collaboration between government, post-secondaries, and even private industry, it would be a deterrent to wanting some of these companies to come here. So like I say, they come here and they're blown away with how well ingrained our ecosystem is and how collaborative it is, and just they want to be a part of it. So it's fascinating to see it all come together. And I'm very optimistic that this trend will continue, because when you have people do business with people, and when you have the right people with the right mindsets, which all of my colleagues in different organizations, we share the same commonality. So I'm very, very confident that's going to keep going.
Now, you've alluded to this already a little bit, but maybe you can add more to it. What role does Edmonton Global play in fostering these partnerships and ensuring a strong health innovation ecosystem?
I feel like, we wear many hats. Sometimes to do our job well, we kind of step outside of what is traditionally done in these types of roles. But foundationally, being a convener and a facilitator to being able to pull in the right individuals at the right time is what allows us to be successful. And so, for instance, sometimes we get very short notice that, a client's going to be flying in from country X, and we have a week to pull together what they would deem to be a very prosperous meeting. We can make that happen. And we've done that. And some of the feedback from these clients are like, we've never seen anything like this. Coming from this city, this metropolitan, it would take months, 4 or 5 months to pull this kind of a meeting together. And you guys did it in a week. So I feel that's a huge recognition that we have within our ecosystem partners. Again, whether it's post-secondary, government, or private industry, it's like we call on each other. We call on each other because we know that we're all there for the same reason. We all have the same mission. We want to see the Edmonton region grow. We want to see it be successful. We want to see our counterparts be successful. We want to see all of the initiatives be successful. And so same thing from my side. I mean, always happy to jump in wherever we can to broaden the message. So Edmonton Global, we continue to expand our global footprint. And so when we're able to share successes, like with NAIT, how can we further promote what you're doing so that we get that message across? And it's always going both ways. And so it's just reassuring to see that the mindset is there for allowing these types of initiatives to take place. But it just comes down to the willingness and desire. And I feel that is something that is on fire here in the Edmonton region, not just in life sciences, but across all the sectors.
Yeah, that's so fantastic to hear, and just fuels that ecosystem even further, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd like to look ahead to the May 7th event, the Advancing Healthcare Through Simulation Provincial Summit. We'll be focusing on best practices, workforce development, and of course, innovation. What key insights do you hope attendees gain regarding economic development and investment in simulation-driven health innovation?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's really important that the awareness of what NAIT and the CAMS Simulation Center is getting out there. And so whether it's even here in our own backyard, across the province, across the country. So this event, I think, is a great initiative to broaden that message and awareness to what truly is going on here that, a lot of people don't know about. And so being able to have this day in recognition, people need to know that it's not just one thing that makes a region or a city attractive to bringing in investment? It's a multitude of assets and value attributes. And so CAMS, I feel, like I say, plays a very cool role in all of this, a very unique role. And so it's just being able to have that simulation to understand that you don't have to risk going out into the real world to test the product. We talked about this earlier, risk mitigation. This is a huge advantage to the clients, to the industry, to the ecosystem. And so you piece all these piece puzzles together to make an image, because it's not just one standalone entity or standalone asset that's going to attract a client. It's going to be from all of the resources to the cost of doing business, to the ease of doing business. And even with the issues we're seeing with the US and tariffs and all these, well, it's a big world out there. And one of the issues that I always found troubling is in private industry, my job was selling products to the world. And a lot of times the US was my smallest market. My biggest market was maybe Europe. And so we can do it from here. We have the ability to move products internationally from here. We have free trade agreements with the European Union, with some Pacific based countries. We have the capabilities and the capacity to do it. And so again, CAMS just brings out one additional lever that we can utilize to ensure that we're making good products and we're making sure that they work.
And I think this summit is just going to be the point that we can bring even more people together and continue those conversations. So we're very excited to have Edmonton Global representatives join us
Absolutely.
At the event.
Yeah, and it just goes to say that when called upon, we want to support the whole ecosystem. And so having NAIT recognize that, they see us as partners and how we can provide value, it just reassures us that we're doing our job. We want to be there to, again, promote the message. There's a lot of great things going on here, and we want to be there to stand beside our ecosystem partners.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast, Robert. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and hearing more about the great work that you're doing at Edmonton Global and with all of your partners, including CAMS.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's an absolute pleasure. And again, Edmonton Global, we're looking forward to May 7th. And let this just be the first day of many to come for bringing awareness to what the Simulation Center is. And I've now got a lot more ammunition on my side about how I can showcase this to our clients.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.